Next, Ms. DeGette from Colorado, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nelson, you had testified in response to Mr. Inslee's question that the FDA employees that you and your staff talked to in general supported mandatory guidelines. I'm wondering if you can describe to the committee what kinds of guidelines you mean when you say mandatory guidelines.
Well, the agricultural practices are voluntary. They're voluntary guidelines that the industry is supposed to abide by, but there's no standard to test against. One of the things they were most concerned about was that even in the voluntary guidelines, there were no testing protocols. And these people, I mean, there were 4 possible sources of contamination in the spinach that were identified in the Calfort being FDA and the state of California together, their report back in March. But the FDA investigators that we talked to, and we talked to them all, they were all there, all seemed to think that the real problem was water. I mean, it could have been some of the other sources, but it was most likely water. And what they said would actually solve the problem, or come close to what they thought was the best solution to the problem, was mandating that fields that supply vegetables that are not cooked.
So it's really mandating certain testing protocols and also certain agricultural practices.
That's right, yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if the FDA presented you or your committee with evidence that showed cost savings for closing these field labs, particularly the Denver lab.
We were shown no numbers, no solid cost numbers in all of the documents that they produced to us. There was one early analysis that was sort of back of the envelope. It was Exhibit 40 in your exhibit books that was the sum total of a cost analysis, and it's, as you can see, filled with assumptions that are assumptions, and then undocumented assertions as to cost. If you look at the
and you didn't receive the supporting documentation to this.
There's no supporting documentation.
Were you given any information by the FDA in your investigation about the impact of shutting the Denver lab and the other field labs on food safety?
They did no such analysis.
Okay. Now
they supplied us. Mind you, they're still supplying. They supplied documents as late as 4:30 yesterday afternoon that we haven't been able to go through entirely. But they
did they give some reason for their delay in supplying these documents to the committee?
Every time we ask about the documents, the first letter was written in February requesting these documents. And every time that we would say, look, it can't be a full production. There's nothing from the field here. There's nothing critical of your plans here. There's no substantive cost analysis here. There's no savings analysis here. We get another batch of documents that were also non-responsive until...
But did they give reasons why they have not produced these? I understand you haven't been giving them. Did they tell you why they haven't been giving them?
Not formally.
Okay. Now, the Denver lab in particular, according to your report, does a number of things it has a responsibility for food research and animal research, correct?
That is correct.
And the Denver lab, I'm sorry, Mr. Barstow, you're the one that visited the Denver lab.
Yes.
Now the Denver lab is the only FDA lab to have a section for testing animal feeds and the only lab to test milk for antibiotics, correct?
That is correct.
And the Denver lab is the lab that developed the test for melamine in fish, and they did it quickly, didn't they?
They did. I believe they did it in 3 or 4 days. And it's an animal drug research center, and it's 3 analytical chemists. They all have PhDs, and they are in charge of developing methods that are used agency-wide and by states and by even other countries. to test food.
Now, when you visited the Denver lab, Mr. Barstow, did you get a sense that it was antiquated and run down?
No, not at all.
Were there problems with staff morale there?
Morale at every laboratory we visited was very low.
I imagine it was particularly low at the labs slated to be closed.
Exactly.
Did those scientists tell you that they were going to transfer to the other labs?
No, very few did. I believe the numbers were 2 in San Francisco, 2 in Denver, 6 in Kansas City, and 2 at the Winchester lab.
2 that planned to transfer, and all the rest were not going to.
That's correct.
That's experience we would just lose if we closed those labs.
Probably thousands of years.
Thank